Hey guys, this is a market update. Binance sued by the SEC, crypto prices dropping on that news, but I just cannot be bearish and I want to explain why in this video. I have a bunch of data and also just other pieces of information about what the SEC is doing here and why a lot of what they're saying is actually really irrelevant and shouldn't be taken on face value. Don't get fudded out of your bags, essentially. That's my opinion, and I'm going to explain why in this video. Coming to the Bitcoin price, two different bits of technicals are playing out for me. The first one is, as we can see here, what I drew as a descending wedge or a descending triangle, right? So we had the downtrend here that we were going into anyway. Like I've been saying in previous videos, this price action is just, fairly weak. We had a huge move, and then the reasons for that move basically just fell away. The narrative about banking crisis and everything just fell away, and then you had fears of, the Treasury refilling the Treasury general account, potentially bad for risk assets, all of this kind of FUD and narrative that just was driving us a little bit lower initially. Within this pattern still, we have the SEC news, which, yes, dropped us lower yesterday, but it's not like the bear market. It just doesn't feel like the bear market, and that's because we're not in that anymore. So what we can see is, yes, the descending triangle was bearish in this case and actually broke to the downside. That's what came out. However, if we just take away this, what we're seeing now is potentially a wedge, a descending wedge, which usually with an uptrend is actually a bullish price action on technicals. So you have an uptrend here, you have this down move like this, and these actually break to the upside if you're looking at technicals. Unfortunately, like I've said, I believe this is more of a consolidation period, and I've got data to show this as well. And also, we're just going to be trading on fundamentals, news, narratives, because of what the SEC is doing, because of what the administration in the States is doing, trying, intentionally to make the PR for crypto negative, murky, and muddy. That's what they're attempting to do. That's what they want to do. And so this is how it's going to trade on these bits of news and narrative. But I just think we're in a consolidation for the next six plus months. So I'll show you data here on what prices are really important. If you're a trader though, Bybit still allowing trading, 30K deposit bonus on Bybit. Check all of the details below. You can come and trade on there with me, $30,000 bonus. The SEC have played their full hand right now. This is max FUD from them. They have sued everyone. Coinbase, Wells notice. Kraken, Wells notice. So they settled that Wells notice. Binance now sued. The gorilla in the room. There's no one else to sue. But we're still at 25,700. We are still within the consolidation range for this part of the Bitcoin cycle. We're right here. This I drew months and months ago and put in the Crypto Investor Course private groups before any of this price action happened. And I mean, by a bit of luck, because you can never really tell what the price is going to be, but just by a bit of luck, we seem to have come right into that, and now we're just falling back down into it. This is normal and typical for every previous cycle. You can see the previous cycle here within this. You have a big move up and then you just have this drip down. Then you have the halving going into new all-time high. This is absolutely normal for this part of the cycle. If we were trading at 50,000, I'd be worried. I'd be more bearish on the price. I think, why are we up there? This is absolutely normal for the Bitcoin cycle. This is where the price should be based on previous parts of the cycle and the growth of the network. So absolutely not worried at all. Really am not. And I'll show you why the SEC, with a lot of what they're saying, calling basically all of crypto security, is also just not correct. Two bits stand out for me in the SEC case. Now, we have to separate Binance, which is a private company and is a crypto exchange and is a financial services business, from the underlying crypto technology, decentralized blockchains. They're completely different. Yes, a private financial services business is going to get sued by regulators for offering this bunch of products. So that's just the way it is. Coinbase also having a Wells notice, basically going to be sued as well. Every financial institution in the whole world has been sued by regulators. HSBC paid one of the biggest fines for essentially having one of their biggest product lines money laundering for drug cartels in Mexico. So financial services businesses do this. Okay, so that's just what happens. But that's separate from what's being built on the technology side in Bitcoin cryptocurrency. So Binance is a private company. They're going to get sued. Some products are going to get, potentially knocked off from Binance, but it's Binance.us. SEC only have US jurisdiction. It's a tiny part of Binance's business empire, but it's not great for the Binance brand for sure. As you can see here, this is my favorite quote. "We're operating an unlicensed security exchange in the US, bro." And this is the chief compliance officer. It just doesn't look good for Binance. They are an aggressive market participant within crypto, growing their market share, just like banks have done, just like all these other exchanges have done over time. Fair enough. A lot of the products and services that they were offering are obviously going to be part of the settlement, and that's that. But that's kind of different to crypto. The thing that the SEC are just simply gaslighting about right here is calling everything in the world a security. So they call BNB a security. They call BUSD, which is a stablecoin, a security. Since the Binance platforms launched, defendants have made available for trading on them crypto assets that are offered and sold as investment contracts and thus as securities. So they're calling Solana, Cardano, Matic, Filecoin, all of these, Algorand, collectively crypto asset securities. This is a cash grab from the SEC. This is something where the SEC is saying, we want jurisdiction over this, but they have no legal, lawful basis to do that. Why is Ethereum not in this list? Maybe because the CFTC have made it very public that they would actually challenge the SEC in court that Ethereum is a commodity. What makes Ethereum a commodity and Cardano ADA a security? What is the difference between them? Because the actual process that they both came about is the same. There was an ICO, but both are sufficiently decentralized protocols. What makes ETH not part of this list and ADA part of this list? Well, if we could have a checklist of things that make a crypto asset security versus a commodity, then the industry would know where it stands. However, it doesn't, because this is just basically a way to create murkiness and muddiness, which is actually what the SEC want to do right now. They don't really want to regulate anything. They've been told from the top and the administration, crypto is out. We don't want this thing to have clarity, operation choke point for the banks, and murkiness with regulation. That's exactly what they want, because they want to stop it and stifle this industry. That's what they're doing when they are including all of these large assets and saying they're all securities. Also, listen to this video directly from Gary Gensler in 2018. 2018 is after the Cardano launch, after the Ethereum launch. Many of the current blockchains and assets that have been issued before this in 2018.
So we already know in the US and in many other jurisdictions that 3/4 of the market are not ICOs, or not what would be called securities. Even in the US, Canada, and Taiwan, the 3 jurisdictions that follow something similar to the Howey test. So you'll hear debates about initial coin offerings and what's a security and what's not a security. Relevant and important debate. But for 3/4 of the market, it's not particularly relevant as a legal matter.
Secondary sales of crypto assets are not securities. That was ruled also by a US judge. Judges are important. They set the law through precedent. SEC doesn't set the law just by claiming something in a court case. US judge rules secondary sales of Library's native token are not securities. So Cardano specifically issued their ICO in Japan. No US investors in that. Secondary sales of crypto assets are not securities. This is precedent within the law. So the SEC can say that all of these are securities if they want, because they're sold on the secondary market, but it's just not true within the current law. Now, maybe that changes with laws coming out from Congress in the US. Who knows? But for right now, what the SEC is saying just simply isn't correct within the law, and it's intentionally creating muddiness within the industry. Getting back to trading of these assets though, 25,000 if you are a trader is probably a really important level for BTC. This FUD probably knocks us underneath that. But where the most trade occurs are the most important levels. So down at 16,500 at the bottom of the bear market, that is where a massive amount of the Bitcoin supply exchanged hands, 4% or so. So what you're seeing here is capitulation from investors there, short-term traders who are capitulating, and that's where the most long-term investors say okay, this is the level now. 16.5 is where equilibrium is found, and obviously we bounced hard from that. More than that, 4.6% of the current circulating supply traded at around the 26,800 level. So let's call it 25, 26,000. That seems to be a massive, massive price level for BTC. And so, yes, we can trade around that for a little bit, but I would suggest, given what's happening in the macro, that it's also a very important level. And it seems like the market is very happy to trade around there. Now, when you have losses, maybe you get some capitulation from short-term traders here. So you come down lower, but 16.5 to 25,000 seems like the top and bottom for this part of the cycle, right? So a massive consolidation level here. This 26,800 is probably the area to break as we break through to the next part of the cycle. Until then, can trade around this. But there's obviously a ton of demand at this level, and I think that's important for the price, because we've seen the price come off because of this SEC case, but it's not really as bearish as, you know, the bear market, right? So people are paying up. They paid 16.5 and they're paying 26.8. And so demand coming in at higher levels. We can see this as well. The US administration is just destroying crypto in the US. So that's bad for you guys, unfortunate. But crypto isn't going anywhere. Asia has picked up. EU has picked up. And so the industry is simply going to move to other jurisdictions and find its market. It's an important market. It provides a use case that is better than the current system in many different ways. And so it's going to be picked up around the world. Of course, if the US changes and becomes positive to crypto, that's good news. And it means that the industry can grow and grow bigger and faster. Until that happens, this is just as bad as it's going to get in the US. It's basically persona non grata in the US, right? And so if that actually flips, for example, next year during the election, maybe the Republicans get in and they're a little bit better on crypto, suddenly you have a massive difference in the landscape. And so that's why I'm just really not bearish at all on cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin and ETH. You can see here, it's just moving to different parts of the world, and there is a lot of demand in different parts of the world. The regulatory landscape in America is extremely unfortunate. It's basically a circus at this point, but the rest of the world is picking up the slack, and we are right where we should be within the Bitcoin cycle. We are not below it, we're not above it, we're just right there. And so fair value, I would say, just my opinion anyway. If you're a trader, up to 30K deposit bonus on Bybit. Check the links down below for that. Crypto investor course is down there as well if you want to get into the Discord groups. 300 plus videos. Ask me questions, see my portfolio as well. Link down below. I'm James with MoneyZG. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.